Good afternoon, folks. This is Catherine here in New Zealand, and it's about 1 p.m. on Wednesday the 2nd of October 2019. A very dreary day today. It was cool and mild in the morning, and then this big rainstorm thing came through and the air got really cold, so I've had the heat pump going and I've been feeding Mum hot water bottles throughout the morning. The sun's trying to come out now, but I don't know what it will ultimately do. Anyway, I thought I'd make a short video. I've been a regular at the amateur radio club there in Christchurch for a little over a year now, and actually it's a bit over a year. And something they have there, it's sort of like a bring and buy table, except it's a bring and give away table, really. A lot of amateur radio operators and that, they tend to be of the older generation, and often they've accumulated over the years a little bit too much stuff, and they bring and put some stuff on a table, and it's better that it goes away to a good home than goes to be junk. That said, if it sits there too long, certain stuff gets separated out. Some aluminium goes off to recycling, and some copper and some components and that. And the club earns a little bit of money. Higher value items, one of the committee members will put a sticker on it with a price, $25, $50, things like that. But lower value items, and some of them are lots of little even components, just a whole big box, somebody's junk box of components and that. And an important part of each meeting night is that people get there early and they pick through boxes of junk and components, electronic components. And recently it's had another big injection. I believe a mature age gentleman's gone into a care home, and his den or whatever has got cleaned out, and there's a bunch of stuff. So had a bit of a haul. As I said to somebody, I made out like a bandit. So, what did I get? When I went to Australia, I left behind the valve radios I had, valves being vacuum tubes to Americans, and they just left them up in the ceiling in the garage, just up storage, up in the garage when I moved out and went to Australia. So, they got lost. But anyway, lost to time. New owner probably took them to the rubbish dump, who knows. So these are not transmitters at all, these are just plain a radio you listen to, so it's only AM, medium wave. It's one of these Bakelite cases. It's in quite good condition. The Bakelite's a very brittle kind of plastic from about 1920s onwards, isn't it? And it did tend to break easily. And I make a point of saying there were several radios and lots and lots of parts of radios, as in the entire case was missing, but the whole chassis of the radio was there, or part of the chassis of the radio was there. But anyway, this was complete, and with a standard plug on the end. So I took it through into the workshop area. There's a workshop for club members to use, and plugged it in, and it works perfectly. It is quite heavy. It is valve, as in vacuum tube. And you can see there, big heavy transformer there, and it works absolutely beautifully. I won't try to turn it on now, or the YouTube copyright robot will have a little bit of a problem. And also amongst what was there was this one. And I was humming and hawing about this at first. It also came, they were a little bit covered in dust, with a plug on it. Actually, that looks like it's been replaced. That's a newer type plug. And again, it works absolutely perfectly. It's AM only, because of course in the old days, New Zealand was very late getting FM radio. Some of the old valve radios did have shortwave on them. None of these do. And you can't really see the detail. We might try to see if you can see some detail. You might notice the backing board of this, someone's actually made it up out of an old TV backing board. So either this radio, like that other one, didn't have a back, or it had a back that got broken or whatever, and someone's made up one out of a TV which has the ventilation holes which are needed because valves give off quite a bit of heat. And you might, if you just get the angle right, be able to see some glass valves in there. So, but this one works perfectly as well. I was humming and hawing about this one, but one of the old blokes who knows about all these things, and he said, now that's one of the very last valve radios made, or certainly made or marketed in New Zealand. Remember that back in the day, a great many of the valve radios, and then later the televisions, sold in New Zealand were actually designed and built locally. A lot of the, not this one, a lot of the tuning dials actually have on them the names of local stations. So they would make up a particular one suitable for throughout New Zealand, through the main cities. Just trying to see if this one mentions them or not. Let's have a look. Yes, the tuning dial on this one, I'll try to get it so you can see the detail. I remember 3YA, the way it worked, and it's also the way on which the call signs are currently based. Station numbers beginning with a 1 were the upper half of the North Island, Auckland and area. With a 2 was Wellington and area, and also the very upper part of the South Island. 3 was the middle of the South Island, so Christchurch, Canterbury area. And 4 was the very bottom part of the South Island. Because those various stations, 3YA was a Christchurch one, and anything with a 4 in it was down Dunedin way. So this was, if it wasn't completely made in New Zealand, at the very least the tuning system was made with a New Zealand presentation with local station names, because that's how the stations were known. Now they're known as the Breeze or the Hits or the Edge or something like that, but it used to be that you knew your station by its actual, what was its actual official designation. You say, I like to listen to 3YC, or I like to listen to 2ZB, or whatever it might be. I also actually got this, which it's sort of a work lamp for a car. It had a non-standard kind of plug on it, but on other occasions I've got this cigarette lighter plug with a thing, so I'll connect this up, and we have a testing power supply in the workshop at the radio club, and it was able to provide enough power to test that it does glow, but it couldn't drive it to full power, but we were able to test that it's working. So it's just a 12 volt, effectively a work lamp for in your car if you get a flat tyre at night or something. So I'll sort that out later, and put it in a bag to keep it clean or something, and put it in the back of Mum's car for in case of any nighttime breakdowns or whatever. So that was my haul, which was pretty good for one night, and everyone else there was lining stuff up. Some of them were carrying it out into the car, or else they had a little area where they set up put their bag down or whatever, and they had all these little bunches of stuff that people had got, and so yeah, it was a good haul for everyone. And there's a money box. You put some donations in the money box. So if it doesn't have a specified price on it, and I did check with one of the committee members, so you just put in a donation, and we save the stuff from landfill. But yeah, there's actually a vintage wireless, as in receiving only, club that also shares the same club rooms. So if anything's not hoovered up by the amateur radio club members, the next about another month's time, the Vintage Radio Society have their next meeting, and they'll probably come around and hoover up whatever's left. There was there was some good scores there. There was someone had a chassis of a radio. The casing was all gone, but the chassis was all there. It was missing one valve to make it work. And one of the old fellas there, he said he looked at the base, the hole where the valve plugs into, and he said, oh, that'll be a, and he mentioned the name of some valve, and there was a box, I mean, there was a large carton full of smaller cartons with the names written on them of valves, some of them second hand, some of them new, and he just went and helped the bloke go and find through there the right valve, put the valve into the socket, carried it through, put it in the workshop, and it worked. So yeah, there were some good scores there, and it's a great part of our history. I don't know when these this is very heavy for its size, but yeah, the Bakelite, I'd like to know what year it is. Casing, I think, yes, it's been broken on the bottom, and you can see it's been glued up. Oh, they have a facility for an aerial wire, but it can pick up local stations even without an aerial. So yeah, it is a very brittle, one of the early kinds of plastic. It's called Bakelite, and it can break easily. But yeah, so that's probably the older one. And this, as the guy said, was one of the last of the valve radios made. Goes by the name of Fleetwood. And they work lovely. And the thing with valve radios, they give a lovely tone. They just do. As you see, the inside decorative silvers come off of one knob there. But I might actually go along to the Vintage Wireless Club on their next meeting. I could take that in with me and just, or I could take the knob off if it's just a little, sometimes it has a little grub screw and the knob just comes off. And then I could just ask them to, I can't see a brand name on this one at all. Oh yeah, there it is, it's called a Bell. Roll or Bell. It's a script writing, you could work it out yourself. What I mean is you'd have to work it, I think they just call it a Bell. I might actually have to research that. And it's had some, yes, information on the back can't be read, whatever's there. But no, a good score. And of course, here in Christchurch we've got what, probably about 4, I think, AM stations left. There was Magic Talk, Magic Music, and it got then increased to another one, Magic Music and Magic Talk. And Coast was one. It's actually a New Zealand wide one. But they have an AM as well as an FM. When I had the white Honda, because the original radio holding bracket had been lost by previous owners who were an idiot, goodness knows how many owners back, and I had to Mickey Mouse something to hold a car radio, but it meant that it didn't have the full dimension rear wood that it needed, that it didn't have the standard rear wood dimension. So I had to put in a shorter than normal radio, and I had one, but it was AM only. So I then had to find a... No, it did have FM, but the FM worked very poorly. There was an issue with it, but the AM worked fine. So it wasn't worth trying to listen to FM, and I just picked either the Coast. The Coast was actually the best one. I might have to see if these get the Coast, actually. I feel like listening to the Coast on AM. Alright folks, it's been far too long, and you've heard me waffling. I've shown you me radios. I'm going to plug them in and see who I can receive now. This is Catherine, over and out. Cheerio folks.